Inter Milan are an absolute mess. Hello, I am the Irish guy. And right, okay, so some of you want me to talk about the Champions League final. Oh, good, because I have a lot to say. What I just watched on Saturday was the biggest joke final I have ever seen in my life. First of all, okay, the Champions League final is the pinnacle, the proudest moment for most football players on this planet. And so naturally, you're going to want to dress your best. Yeah. Whose idea was it to turf Inter Milan out in yellow, looking like nervous bumblebees? I'm sorry, but this is Inter Milan, one of the most ferocious football clubs in the world. And yet on the biggest stage, they look like a team of lollipops. I've never seen a Minions film, but after Saturday night, I feel like I've got the gist. Who wears yellow in a Champions League final? Yellow? What, would you also get married in a pink suit? Would you turn up to your nan's funeral wearing a Toy Story hat? I'm sorry, I know they didn't want their kids to clash, but do you think it helped? Do you really think it helped the performance of the Inter players by dressing them all up like bananas in pajamas? Simone Inzaghi, hang your head in shame. I have never seen a manager's managerial reputation evaporate so quickly into smoke. 5 minutes ago, this man was seen as one of the best young coaches in the world. He was the man constantly linked with Arteta's Arsenal job. This man, another champion of a defensive coach, he was held up as the guy Arteta's wife tells him not to worry about. Honestly, he was the dangling threat that if Mikel did not start picking up some silverware soon, then he would be nicking his North London hot seat. Honestly, if Arteta didn't lift as much as an FA Cup next year, then I'm pretty sure the fear would have been that Inzaghi would soon be slurping from his coffee mug. Inter Milan were 1 point off the Serie A crown. 1! Instead, Inzaghi gets beaten to the prize by the previous boss of Inter Milan. So that's gotta be a punch to the ego. I mean, it's like losing an arm wrestle against your wife's ex-hubby in the vegetable aisle of Morrison's. I'm sorry, but losing out on the Serie A title to a team with Scott McTominay in the middle of the park, that's gotta be about as embarrassing as being caught eating marmalade off your priest's knee. And now to actually lose a Champions League final by 5 goals against a club who've never lifted European silverware in their lives. Inzaghi must be too embarrassed to even look his big bro in the face, because these two brothers have very different experiences of Champions League finals. I mean, Filippo Inzaghi did his family proud, putting the Inzaghi name on the map. First of all, helping AC Milan beat Juventus in the 2003 Champions League final, and then he scored 2 in the 2007 final win over Liverpool, as Milan got revenge for Istanbul. That was the Inzaghi final, one of the most iconic big game performances of all time. Simone Inzaghi is a Champions League embarrassment. He's now lost 2 finals into Milan. 2. And he set a record for the worst Champions League final defeat of all time, which is some going considering Eintracht Frankfurt once led in 7 against Real Madrid. 5-0! 5-0! 5-0! Look, I know PSG are insanely rich, but let's be real here. Their European pedigree is weaker than a squirrel's bicep just a few years before they won the Qatari lottery. This is a football club playing out a 0-0 draw in a Europa League qualifier away to Derry City. Yes, 0-0. I mean, do you all really believe that Mbappe was a childhood PSG fan when they were nearly getting beaten by electricians and plumbers on a soggy pitch in Northern Ireland? Not only had PSG never won a Champions League before, they'd never even scored in the final. They had never even played a Champions League final with fans in the ground, because back in 2020 against Bayern Munich, the stadium was emptier than a cast reunion for Get Him to the Greek. Yeah. This was my prediction for Inter Milan a few months ago, just after the group phase.
Final, Real Madrid versus Inter Milan. So that's the final. Real Madrid versus Inter Milan, which makes sense. I mean, how often do we see a beaten Champions League finalist return to the final soon after? And I know Real will be the overwhelming favourites here, but no, I think this is the year where Inter Milan win the Champions League, purely due to their ridiculous defence. But yeah, this is a game which fully puts Inzaghi on the map.
Yeah. I thought that Inter Milan would squeak a defensive masterclass against Real Madrid in the final, shutting out the club who won more Champions Leagues than I've had chicken nuggets in my life. Oh, no. Instead, Inter Milan are now the biggest stain in Champions League final history, getting an historic slapdown by a club with no Champions League wins to their name. 5-0, even Mayulu scored. Who is Mayulu? You've let a child score against you in a Champions League final. It's embarrassing. You've literally let a Bristol City player's little bro dunk on you in a Champions League final. Yes, Bristol City. A Bristol City winger will return for pre-season, bragging to his mates that his little kid bro scored in a Champions League final. And that's Inter Milan's fault. Don't let the kid embarrass you. What is this, a sequel to Home Alone? Have I cursed Inter Milan? Is this me? Is this my fault? The 1 year I tipped this club to win the Champions League. Oh no, they instead become this competition's biggest joke. No, it's not my fault. It's the fault of Simone Inzaghi. Let's be real. This was the wrong final. Barcelona and Inter Milan shared an epic Champions League semi-final, sure. 7-6 was bonkers, but Barca were the better side. Francesco Acerbi popping up at the age of 37 in the box to rescue a last gasp equalizer for Inter Milan. Incredible moment, But I think it would have been better for this club if he hadn't done that. I bet he wishes he hadn't scored that, because it would have saved this club their dignity being fed to a goose in a sweaty pond. Barcelona versus PSG would actually have been a competitive match. I mean, the subplots would have been sweet. Luis Enrique facing off against the team he once led to Euro glory 10 years ago. And there's history between Barcelona and PSG. The remontada comeback. The fact PSG have pinched Neymar and Messi from them. Probably out of spite and revenge for Barcelona once stealing Ronaldinho from them. It would have been a beautiful match. Dembele trying to score it against his former club. And you know what? I reckon he would have celebrated. Ashraf Hakimi showing his foe goody two-shoes respect after netting against Inter Milan in a Champions League final. Celebrate, you clown! A Champions League final should be a match so epic that you forget where you are. Showing composure to swallow your jubilation after that moment. Are you for real? You spent 1 year at Inter, mate. 1 year when there were no fans in the crowd because all the Italians had been told to stay at home eating Freddos on the couch. You're trying to protect your relationship with the Inter fans. What relationship? They don't know you, mate. He joined in July 2020 from Real Madrid. He left them for PSG in July 2021. In most of his 45 appearances, there was no one in the crowd. There was only a handful of matches where the attendance was 1,000 people. But that's it. So why the respect shown? Why? You've never met these people. You were a lockdown fling. Honestly, it's pathetic. It's like someone choosing to marry their pen pal. You've never met them. You think this is some beautiful online romance with your soulmate? Some Bosnian uni student doing her nursing overseas? Yeah. Turns out it's a fat bloke on the other side of that computer, thumping his laptop keys, sending you kisses and munching on a chump, sitting in his dirty Lion King underpants. Dembele would have celebrated because he's got something about him. But Hakimi trying to pander to the Inter Milan fans on the world's biggest stage. I'll be honest, it was about as pathetic as seeing some sad bloke standing alone in the middle of Primark holding his sister's purse. I mean, Newcastle United had a lockdown fling with Valentino Lazaro. Ironically, pitching him on loan from Inter Milan. Do I think this bloke cares with anything to do with Newcastle? No, he probably even forgets he was there. I would not expect the bloke to refuse to eat a Kit Kat vanilla bar just because it's got the same colours as a Sunderland shirt. I wouldn't expect him to kiss a penguin out of loyalty to the Newcastle colours. Absolutely not. So this from Hakimi for his lockdown crush. It was weird, but yes, Barcelona would have been a beautiful match. A contest. Inter Milan, they look like they stole a place. What Inzaghi is doing right now is pathetic. Is this really how you want to leave European football? And now he's running off to the Saudi Pro League with Al Hilal. Have some shame. This man should be returning to Milan, promising to claw back pride, to restore a bit of respect into this team. Price of AC Milan fans are literally holding a mock funeral for Inter in their home city. Imagine those Italian mums sending their Inter Milan sporting kids off to school. It's probably a bit like chucking your cat into the gorilla cage at the zoo. Inzaghi has done this. His naive and feeble tactics, his complete lack of a suitable game plan for the occasion, his complete mismanagement of the entire situation. That is what has firmly put Inter Milan in the mud. Don't get it wrong, there has been a rotten fall off since the Jose Mourinho days. And yes, this club has been humbled in Europe. For me, I think the rock bottom moment came when they lost to Southampton in the Europa League. Sure, that was an embarrassing night, but it doesn't compare to getting beaten by 5 goals in front of millions. That is a stain on the history of this brilliant club, and that's all because of Inzaghi's negligence. He should be sticking around to correct what he's done wrong, but instead he's rewarding himself with a fat bag, and as of today, he's literally going to try and prevent Inter Milan from winning silverware next month. Seriously, because his job now is to try and win Al Hilal the Club World Cup. If Inter Milan come into his path, his goal is to smash this team into pieces. His first match for Al Hilal is in 2 weeks' time against Real Madrid. And you know what the most disgusting thing about this is? He is going to be earning more money than the Real Madrid boss. Yeah, Xabi Alonso earned this dream job by turning Bayer Leverkusen into some freakish Bundesliga invincibles. And yeah, the guy who just choked like a vegan eating sausages in the Champions League final now earns more. He's now the best paid manager in the world on nearly £22 million a year. He's on roughly £430,000 a week. That's Mo Salah money. For someone who is now the reason that Inter Milan children are probably now having egg sandwiches lobbed off their heads at school, I think it's pathetic. Bruno Fernandes is also offered a triple your money salary by Al Hilal, and you know how easy it would have been for him to say yes? He's been at this Manchester United thing for 5.5 years now, and it's never gotten any better, it's only getting worse. They've just finished 15th and have 0 European football to look forward to. And this is with Bruno having played out of his skin to deliver 19 goals and 19 assists. He can't do much more. He could have been in his rights to give up and throw his captain's armband in the bin, just to swan off and earn £700,000 a week at Al Hilal. But no, He said no. He turned down almost double the money that Inzaghi has accepted. That is loyalty. What Simone has done is horrid. Inzaghi is now actually the best paid boss in the world. I mean, really, before he penned this contract, Moyes was in the top 5. Yeah, David Moyes. Apparently he earns 3 million more than Luis Enrique. Surely that's gotta change. You cannot win the Champions League for PSG and yet still be earning less than David Moyes. Surely not. He's the second best paid manager in the Premier League. This can't be real. And Inter Milan are heading one way, and that is south. Because who are they going to get to replace Inzaghi? It stinks of Christian Kivu. Apparently, says Fabregas is top of the shopping list. That could be a genius managerial coup, but it is a risk. He's only 38. He's only been retired 2 years. Their next option is Patrick Vieira, who ticks the box of having been a former Inter player, but again, his managerial CV is a mixed bag. I mean, it's going well for him at Genoa right now. I mean, he's rebuilt his reputation somewhat in Italy, but he needed to after being sacked by Nice, Crystal Palace, and Strasbourg. Vieira was a monster footballer, and the idea of him developing into a fearsome manager was there about 10 years ago, but I mean, it was only 4 years ago. He was apparently battling with John Terry for the Bournemouth job, and then they both lost out to Woodgate. And you really think this is the man to win Inter Milan a Champions League? No. And another name is Roberto De Zerbi, the mini goblin who's been the prison warden at Marseille this year. A man who hops around clubs so quickly, he looks like a drunk grasshopper. Honestly, he could have been the evil guy in a bug's life. This Inter team needs a stable manager, not someone who ups and leaves whenever his coffee gets cold. I think it'll be someone boring like Christian Kivu, a treble-winning defender for Inter Milan, sure, and someone who coached their under 14s, under 17s, under 18s, and under 19s before he took the job at Parma. He's been consistently using older and older Inter Milan footballers, so it's a natural progression, but it's a boring fit. Like when Manchester United got Ollie, just because he used to coach Pogba as a boy. Boring! Inter Milan are in the mud, and it's all Inzaghi's fault. It's an actual disgrace. I can't believe the cheek of this man to just up sticks and leave. It's like being dumped at the altar with your wife running down the aisle to escape with some 84-year-old potato who just so happens to have a brand new Ferrari parked up back. But a quick word on PSG, lads, I'll be real. I thought Luis Enrique was done. Yes, his brilliant Barcelona team won the Champions League in 2015, but I kind of thought he was carried to that crown by MSN. I mean, it can happen, okay? Pure utter world-class ballers can absolutely make European champions out of very average managers. Right, as well, if John Terry had not slipped, Avram Grant would be a Champions League winning king. Yeah, the guy would soon go on to finish bottom of the Prem twice on the bounce. He eventually takes the Spain job and doesn't really do that well with them on paper. But since he's left, they're winning everything. So I think his fingerprints are all over Luis de la Fuente's success. His time with Spain has actually aged amazingly. But lads, Christ above, he literally told the world in 2023 that he wanted to manage in the Premier League.
I have a special attraction. I would like to go to England to work. I found out English football a lot more than Spanish football.
That was a come and get me plea to the Prem. And nobody wanted him. Not even Spurs. Lads, I did not see this coming. I've seen PSG live in the flesh 18 months ago when Newcastle smashed them up at St. James's Park, and I'll be honest, the PSG project looked dead. It was an embarrassment for them. 4-1 against Champions League newbies like Newcastle, conceding goals against Almiron, Byrne, Longstaff and Char. 4 blokes with less than 100 goals in English football, which is kind of wacky considering half of them have been here their whole careers. Honestly, seeing PSG getting schooled by Longstaff, you might as well have wrapped a bow in this Qatari project and rocketed it into the sun. If you told me they'd be European champs the next season, no. They needed a dodgy last-minute penalty to scrape out of the group, and that's even before Mbappe had left the building. Ousmane Dembele is going to win that Ballon d'Or. He's actually going to do it. 33 goals and 15 assists. Neymar went to PSG to win the Ballon d'Or. Mbappe went to PSG to win the Ballon d'Or. Messi went to PSG and probably thought he was still going to win the Ballon d'Or. Dembele went to PSG because there was nowhere left to go. He'd been a massively injury-plagued, disappointing Barcelona weasel. I legitimately thought this club were mad to pay Borussia Dortmund £97 million for him as a teenager in 2017, essentially chucking half the paycheck they'd got for Neymar from PSG. He had the durability of a punctured Capri Sun and the end product of tuna. Here were his end-of-season goal returns in the Liga. 3-8, 1-6, 1-5. Even last season in his debut League on season, 3. Now he's got 33 in all comps. What? And he's going to be crowned the best player on planet Earth at 28. A player like him who has been crushed by injuries, they should have been burnt out completely by now. He should be the French Michael Owen, getting passed around by Nice, Lens and Nantes. This is someone who literally conceded a penalty for France in the most recent World Cup final, which they lost. He was probably seen as a fat French clown. But no, what he's done, what PSG done, what Luis Enrique have done, unbelievable. But as for Inzaghi, this treacherous act of treason by this guy, running off to Al Hilal, it's absolute, complete and utter cowardice. Oh, don't think I've forgotten about this. I hate bananas. I I have to pick some off the floor. Oh, it's got pieces of carpet in it. Lovely. I landed right in the middle of the mud. Oh, grim. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you in a while.